I am Sam Day Hunt, and today I'll mainly be discussing about Super Sentai. I'd already mentioned that it was also one of my inspirations, and let me just say, it actually was one of the bigger inspirations for which Celtic Warriors is probably there. I mean, the first ever story that I actually thought about was Celtic Warriors, which I actually had reasons as I already said in my previous videos, and the series which played the biggest part in it was definitely none other than Super Sentai. I'm gonna show you right here. I actually managed to get access to all of them here, all of the series, and also it's obviously from IMDb. So for that reason, yeah, and it's actually just for the visuals. I am taking reference from IMDb. I will just be describing about all of my experience about all those Super Sentai that you are actually seeing right here. First of all, it all started with Secret Squadron Go Ranger. It's actually called Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger in Japanese, and obviously I watched all of them in Japanese. I'll obviously tell you about the original names in Japanese. So most probably it was the first ever, and it was obviously in 1975, and it actually was like an 84 episode Super Sentai. It almost took me forever to complete it, but yes, it was interesting. Maybe for newer generation it may not be that interesting, but yeah, obviously I myself am a new generation, but yes, I was pretty curious and I watched it. It's obviously not a bad one, but yes, the visuals may not be pretty likable for everyone, I'd say. And also, but for obvious reasons, is every episode means you get a monster, and every monster is brilliant. And yes, the quality in Japanese is just too good, too epic, and it was really enjoyable. The villain also is obviously, it's a pretty long series. That's the only problem, lengthy, but it's actually not a bad one. It's a pretty good one. It's the OG series actually, Secrets, and obviously this is the one which is technically the first Super Sentai ever, Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger. And I really like a dialogue, Gunin Sorte Go Ranger. And the song was also giving some lively feeling. Now if I talk about this one was a comparatively smaller series comparatively. It's called Jakka Dengekitai. It's actually written in English, but I'm just translating it to Japanese. That's the original one. So in Jakka Dengekitai, we actually had like the cyborgs, which you can also find in the Kamen Riders. They are basically having cyborgs here, and also later on is joined by a white one, who is actually called like the big one. It's obviously a sort of series, so also pretty old, but yes, it's pretty engaging and interesting. I found it, well, it was obviously based on mafia and stuff. So well, it was interesting indeed. And for Belle J. Okay, if I have to talk about it, it was a pretty engaging series. It actually was based on countries. See, the red is actually Japan, is Cossack, it's like France, and this one is Kenya, and this one is America. Yep, it was interesting. And yes, another thing that I want to say, one ranger dies here. Similarly, one ranger also dies here. That's the spoiler. Which is the part, it actually has some realism to it, some darkness to it, alongside the bells, and you literally kind of find buildings getting destroyed. Compared to Power Rangers, let me just say, it also has got blood, which makes it different. And later on, it was Sentai Denjimon. And these songs are classic. Let me just say, it's pretty good. The song, every song are entertaining, and it just makes you watch it seriously. And it's not really the songs, the fight, the epic scenes, they're all pretty interesting. I mean, it is pretty addictive if you watch it, like, yeah. But anyways, I'm not really discussing about your liking. I'm discussing about how I was actually inspired, and obviously it was one of my favorites. Let me just say, I really had aimed to complete the entire Super Sentai, and actually, let me just say, I did it. I watched Tensei Tensei. Then, again, I had to watch this one, Tales and Vulcan. It's almost like a sequel, and let me just say, it will feel a bit better to know that there is a sequel series directly to it. It also probably is the reason I probably am trying to make a sequel of Celestic Warriors. I actually made the sequel actually, and also making series. Super Sentai was pretty much inspiring in that way. It was encouraging me to make series. But obviously I know it's gonna be a tough one. Obviously I only made 3 series. It's a pretty tough, I know how much effort they really put to it, and it's not just done by a single creator. There are many creators who do it. It obviously provides 3 male rangers. Obviously the problem is, in the previous ones, you only have 1 female ranger. Taiosen Vulcan, you have got no females. In Dai Sentai Goggle 5 again, you also got no females. I mean 1 female. Up till Kaku Sentai Dynamon. Super Sentai has mainly focuses mostly on the male cast, and females, yeah, females are given priorities in some series, and in some other series you may find, I mean, the male dominance is there, especially in the squads, which yeah, it could be a sort of a problem, because obviously I am not going to comment on that part. So well, it was obviously older series, so looking at that, you can probably say for Sentai Goggle 5, it was a good one. It was obviously based on totally based on the civilizations, and I actually liked it. I'm just gonna keep it brief. This one was based on the Dynamon, who actually were battling against the Tail People clan, who actually looked like lizards. It was entertaining and pretty engaging. It was good. Everything you see are epic. This is called Jodensi Biomon. It's actually a super electronic Biomon. It's called Jodensi Biomon. What happened here was not, well, it was basically based on technology, and it's actually the first Super Sentai which featured 2 female rangers. And spoiler alert, one of them even died. Yeah, and replaced by another. I just spoiled too much, I guess. Anyways, so this is actually called Dengeki Sentai Changemon. Ranger deaths are a bit common, by the way, let me just say, in Super Sentai. Not too common, but it is a bit common, and also near-death situations does occur in Super Sentai. It also contains blood, as I said already. Dengeki Sentai Changemon was a good one too. It basically features an alien who just conquered many planets. Obviously it's rebuilt, by the way. And like they're obviously like the space, and I'm not going to reveal the reality of the main villain, who is actually Bazoo. There is an interesting secret at the last part. So yeah, I'd say it was pretty interesting, especially the finale, and pretty engaging. This one was Joe Sensei Plasma. Basically, it featured I'm gonna say you can obviously see the description, but obviously the part about it was, well, it was pretty interesting, the fact that 5 kids who obviously were from Earth actually tragically were kidnapped, and later on, after many years, they were actually trained by the 5 star. I mean, they all actually went to Sei actually means star, and Joe Sensei actually means, I guess, Sei, the word Sei actually means star. So well, these 5 were actually trained in different stars, the red star, the blue, yellow, depending on their colors. And well, after all that, after the, as you can see here, the villains came. So what basically happened was they just came back to Earth to fight against them, but obviously it's pretty epic, the entrance and everything. It's a pretty engaging one again, and the interesting fact is the awkwardness. I mean, there are actually Earthlings who actually kidnapped pretty early when they're too young, and yeah, that's why Earth itself seems to be pretty weird for them, which is the interesting part. They are not able to understand much of what art really is. They are exploring art literally. And yes, the ending is a bit heartbreaking, I'd say. You can understand it. Now, this one is called Hikari Sentai Maskman. Now, what really happened here is actually based on aura power, underground, empire, etc. Chozo Sentai Live Man. This one is interesting. This one, let me just say, every Super Sentai is engaging and interesting. I can't really hate a single one. All of them are good on their own way. This one basically was based on the power of youth. You really got youth going. And there are scientists. And they're basically based on some research. I mean, you can obviously understand everything. It's obviously mainly the main power of Chosen Life Man was technically youth. Even if it featured mainly animals, a bit themed on animals actually, and also technology. This one, Turbo Ranger. Well, this one, if you know, it's not Power Rangers Turbo, it's Turbo Ranger is totally different. And let me just say, the actual Car Ranger is actually called Car Ranger, the original Power Rangers Turbo's original Super Sentai version is called Car Ranger, and I think it was technically was like the parody of Turbo Ranger. And Turbo Ranger features high school students who actually battle against cursed tribe called Bomb, the Bomber tribe. And yes, it's pretty dark, interesting in its own way. But yes, compared to Chosen Liveman, I don't think it's that good compared to Liveman. Liveman is far more interesting. You actually got two ranges coming later on, joining. Interesting part is there. Then it's called Chiku Sentai 5-man. So about Chiku Sentai 5-man, it's actually based on siblings and you really like it. You actually have the sibling bond and they're real siblings by the way. All 5 rangers. And it's pretty interesting and engaging. All 5 of them are high school, are teachers. They were actually, their parents were, I'm not gonna spoil much, but actual fact is they actually feature 5 siblings. And the way the bonding really goes, the way they really care for each other, the way the fight really goes, it's pretty interesting and engaging, and it really feels like what family really is. They're literally siblings. So you can really expect how good the bond really is between all of them. And well, the next one is Shojin Sentai Jetman. So basically in Jetman, what actually happened was, well, Shojin Sentai Jetman was actually the series which came just before Kyoryuger. It's actually called Juden Sentai Kyoryuger, which we actually call Power Rangers Mighty Morphin in the Power Rangers version, and this is the original version though. Now, before that, Shoujo Sentai Jetman. What really happened here was, well, basically they were all given some bionic powers and they actually become Jetman. The fact is, Jetman itself is quite dark. That's what I would say. Dark in its own regard, and there are some romantic politics going on between 3 of them, which you will actually find. Romantic conflicts. So yeah, which is actually sort of a flaw, I guess. No, maybe not, but yes, it actually sort of brings reality to it, and which I actually like. It brings reality, and well, there is one character, the Black, which you actually like. He's an interesting character. I think it's called the Black Condor. So well, it's a pretty interesting. But yes, the main thing is that the blue and yellow here don't really get that much focus. But yeah, red, white, and black are actually the ones who gets more focus in Shojin Sentai Jetman. That is technically like the only flaw, but overall it's pretty interesting. Kyoru Sentai Zyuranger, if I would say, is the original version of Mighty Morphin, as I said already. From then on, you really have the Power Rangers. So basically, In Kyoto Sentai U Ranger, what really happens is instead of high school students, they are real warriors who are actually recruited. That's the only thing that I want to say. And yes, the villains are actually exactly the same as you see in Mighty Morphin. Mighty Morphin, by the way, is just an adaptation of it. It's the original one, let me just say. Um, there could be some misconceptions, but you need to know the truth that these are actually the original ones. Power Rangers are the adaptations, and at times they even could be good, a bit better than Super Sentai, but that's quite rarely. Super Sentai is the original one, and one thing that Power Rangers does, it at times it actually adds two female rangers where Super Sentai sometimes have only one female ranger. That is sort of a plus point, I guess. But other than that, Super Sentai is the original. Let me just say, the original credit obviously goes to them. It's thanks for them to coming up with the idea. They actually are the ones coming up with the real idea. What Power Rangers does is basically adapt them into their own ideas. They just make a different version of the villain and they just deviate the plot a bit, I guess. That's what they basically do, but the original credit all goes to them. And it's not like Power Rangers really doesn't do much. Yeah, they at times become lazy or just make the plot rushed, which actually doesn't give them that much popularity compared to Super Sentai. Though Super Sentai distribution of Super Sentai isn't that much all throughout the regions, which is a problem. Or else I think Super Sentai would have been far better compared to. And Power Rangers is basically based on the US, so it's obviously popular, quite popular even with that. I just imagine what would have happened if just Super Sentai would have been very famous. It probably could have been one of the most popular series. That's for sure. And let me just say, Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger. You probably had seen the White Ranger in Mighty Morphin, right? Basically, the White Ranger here is technically the sixth Ranger of the Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger. They are the original Rangers in the part 2 of Mighty Morphin. They actually look like this. It's basically based on the Chinese legends. Everything has a theme and it's based on Chinese and martial arts. It's pretty good and it's also based on aura, just like Maskman. Next one is Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger. Kakure means hiding, meaning they are the hiding rangers and the main motto of the ninjas are hiding. And basically they do everything by hiding, and yes, they're all normal people by the way. They're not, this actually is called alien rangers, but these guys are normal people and they're basically based on ninja. They're ninjas. I mean, they're not ninjas, but they have some ancestral connection to ninjas. And yes, they were normal people. Let me just say. Same goes for Gosei Sentai Dai Rangers. They're just normal people. Again, Shoriki Sentai O Ranger. Now this one, let me just say the reality of it. You basically have like the Power Rangers sequel. You may think that Rangers are same, but the truth is they're not. Everything is a separate one. Shoriki Sentai O Ranger actually features five officers. I mean, they're all something like lieutenants, you can say, who actually battles against the robotic empire. But just Wrath, as you can see, Becca's Wrath. I I actually saw it pretty early, so I probably forgot how the pronunciation was. So yeah, and yes, it's obviously totally focused on Robotic Kingdom and the battling on. Then came Geketsu Sentai Car Ranger, which is the parody of the Rangers, and let me just say it's quite funny. If you just watch it, you get it. It's pretty funny, and yeah, it's pretty enjoyable. Then Sentai Mega Ranger is also funny, and it's actually features high school students, and it's actually based on games, by the way. It actually is called Power Rangers in Space, but actually it's based mostly on video games, and yes, space is also a theme though, but it basically focuses on video games. Seiyu Sentai Gingama. This is actually based on real tribe. I mean, there are real tribes here who are sort of, you can say, elements type thing here, star beats, and they're actually not humans, by the way. They're actually from different tribe, you can say. So that's what I would say. And yes, it's also based on the pirate. The main villain is the pirate, who in Power Rangers it's adapted out pretty much modified, but yeah, it's mainly basically based on them defeating an evil pirates. Yuku Sentai Gogo 5, it's another sibling series, and it's actually based on firefighters who actually battle against the demons. Next is Mirai Sentai Time Ranger. And now, here again, this is a far more better version of time. See, in Gyouko Sentai Gogo 5 and Time Rangers, in those two series again, the yellow is actually male. Yeah, and originally they are males, and in Power Rangers you may see them as females, but it also goes for series Sentai Gingaman. The yellow is actually male. Yakuza Sentai Go Ranger, the same thing. The yellow again is male. And also it's a pretty engaging one. Obviously it's not that famous comparatively, but yeah, it's obviously an engaging series. Next is Ninpo Sentai Hurricane. This one is obviously pretty good in its own right. No, I mean, yeah, it's obviously the original Japanese, and let me just say it's pretty engaging, entertaining. Also, the main villain is not Lothar. If there is a different main villain, they probably replaced it with Lothar. You can find it out. Buffalo Sentai Aba Ranger, it was another great one. The main villain, and let me just say, it was actually featuring a White Ranger, and let me just reveal the secret. The White Ranger actually, I think, was meant to be a villain ranger, an evil ranger, just like an evil rider. But unfortunately, the unfortunate truth, I won't say it. You may find out I spoiled too much, I guess. So yeah. But yes, it's obviously quite different from what you see Dino Thunder. And that's what I would say. And also, the villain is not Mesogon. It's a different one. It's actually a virus type villain, and it's a pretty large villain. I mean, pretty big villain comparatively, I'd say. Toku Sentai Deca Ranger. Now let me just say, another thing is that the one you find Broodwing in SPD, he's actually named differently here, and he's technically the main villain of Toku Sentai Deca Ranger. And let me just say, it's totally about Detective 1. It's totally based on detectives and them solving cases, and it's pretty engaging and entertaining. And let me just say, it was one of my most liked series, Deca Ranger. I really like it. Mahou Sentai Maju Ranger. Well, let me just say, Mahou Sentai Maju Ranger is again features sibling, just like the previous ones. Kyuku Sentai Gogo 5 and alongside Chiku Sentai 5 Man. This series also features siblings, which is another interesting part. Yes, you got the mother, father, everyone here. Obviously, they're revealed later, and literally, they're all a real family at the end of the series. It really feels pretty engaging and entertaining all along. And them fighting against the villains. Yes, it's far better than Mystic Force. You'll like it. Gogo Sentai Bokenger though hadn't got that much reputation. And the fact I like about it is that it's got too many villains at once, which is the interesting part, which is the part I actually liked about it. Juken Sentai Geki Ranger was based on martial arts, and I really liked it. It actually had an evil ranger and real evil ranger. And yes, technically though the fate is tragic, I know, but it's a pretty likable and pretty epic, and your blood is really gonna boil if you just watch the series. Pretty engaging song, everything is engaging. This engine Sentai Gonger. This one was obviously though meant to be comedic, just like Car Ranger. It wasn't the serious series, and I think Power Rangers part adaptation was considered better than this. But it actually is obviously based on comedy mainly. You have got the la comedy going on here. So yeah, it's a pretty lighthearted series though. Obviously the last part would be a bit dark, that's all. It's a pretty lighthearted one in this person. Samurai Sentai Sync Danger. This one again brings the actual Japanese version, and let me just say it's far better than Power Rangers, because obviously it's samurai and Japan can definitely make it better. Very good one. Tenzo Sentai Goseiger. I really was a fan of the series. It was a pretty interesting, pretty engaging song. I mean, you literally can understand the value of purity. Angels, they weren't humans, they were angels. And they actually balanced all the villains. I mean, the villain and all, it was obviously in Power Rangers Megaforce part, it felt all rust. But yes, if you watch it, you were actually gonna find a pretty engaging and pretty beautiful series. And it's also based on five angels. It's pretty, I really liked it. Kaizok Sentai Gokaiger. It is an epic one. Let me just say it is one of the best for sure. It actually features all the Super Sentai previously, and they actually can morph into all the Super Sentai that you can see. It's actually based on, and obviously the ranges are different. They are actually space pirates, which is the interesting part. And that on, yes, they actually could morph into any of the 34 Super Sentai, and it was one of the best anniversary series ever. And yeah, this person is far top class compared to Power Rangers, and let me just say it's one of the best for sure. Tokume Sentai Go Busters. This one was also good, it's on the right. Yeah, it's got the spy thing and all. Juden Sentai Q Ranger again. It's now with the Dino Charge part. It was also good in its own way. So yeah, Marisa Sentai Tokyuger. It was also pretty good series, though it doesn't even have a Power Rangers adaptation. It's actually based on trains, and well, and these are actually technically kids, if you didn't know this, who actually somehow are adults. It's actually weird, I know, but yeah. Then came Shuriken Sentai Ninja. It was a pretty great one. Nope, it didn't have that much popularity, but yeah, it's not a hateable one. You may like it, but yes, there are a lot of characters who are just not that much liked, and well, technically I'm not really sure about it, but yes, it's not really that well received, I guess. Double Sentai Hojar. This actually features animals, and let me just say it doesn't have a Power Rangers person. So it's exclusive to Super Sentai again. Power Rangers weren't able to catch up by that time, so well, this is another one of it. Then came Uchu Sentai Q Ranger. This one also had a, they actually hadn't got a Power Ranger adaptation, but yes, it was a pretty engaging series. It actually had featured almost 12 ranges altogether. It is pretty good. I mean, they're different, they're actually not even humans. All of them are aliens, which is the interesting part. And I think there was one human though. So I really liked it. It actually featured all of them coming together in against some dawn or something in the space. So, and those Sentai Zyuohger basically featured one male, which was the red, and the others were actually based on the some half human, half animal type. So yeah, and Kaito Sentai Lupin Ranger and Kesat Sentai Path Ranger. This is a pretty interesting one because it actually featured three rangers who were the police and three who were the thieves, and they actually had a rivalry going on. But yes, they also had villains there. But the interesting part is police versus thief. That's the main theme, and pretty interesting and pretty unique though. Then we had Kishiru Sentai Ryusoja, and they're really skipping here because it actually came. So what really happened here was, well, they were just, again, it's dinosaur based, another dinosaur based Super Sentai, and it's pretty interesting in its own right. Machine Sentai Kira Major is based on imagination and a bit on Kirame or Kiramental. It's also pretty interesting in its own right. Then came Kikai Sentai Senkaiger. Kikai Sentai Genkaiger. It was obviously based on machines, and it's also one of the best anniversary series ever in Super Sentai history. It also features everyone, pretty engaging. Then finally ending up with Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers and Osama Sentai King Oger. I watched up till here, and this one was pretty interesting, and alongside this, let me just say overall my experience was pretty good. And I really liked all the Super Sentai based on everything, and I couldn't really believe that I actually was able to complete all this series altogether. So well, how do you like my inspirations? We'll see you all in the next video.